Well, another week and another week of disappointment for some on the couch in the Fantasy League. We're going to hit our review, but it's NASCAR Fantasy Fastlane. No, Russell, it wasn't you. Go ahead. I'm not even going to tee it up. The glow should tell us that you were the high scorer of the week.
He's glowing.
That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9th, my guys were.
How'd you do on the bonus picks? I only asked because he didn't do as good as me on the bonus picks. How was your week?
I did pretty well. Got over that 200 mark. My bonus picks were pretty good. I think I had the Stage 1 winner, Stage 2, and the manufacturer. So got 30 points right there.
And I think 200 is a bogey. If you score 200 every week, it's a good week. Unless you burned a ton of big names. There's two very disappointing because I have a confession. I didn't know a driver. So I have two lineups. I'm in the NBC League and I'm in the Fantasy League. And all year, I love the new copy. And Sunday morning, I made a move. I took out Denny Hamlin, put in Eric Jones, copied it in the NBC League. But apparently I didn't copy because RJ texted me. He was like, you got Jones or Hamlin? I'm like, oh, I got Jones after he had his issue. And he asked me, oh, I got Jones. I didn't have Jones. I had Hamlin in one and Jones in one, so they're both mad at me because I scored more points.
Yeah, but that's found money.
It is found money. Now I should have just said it was my plan the whole time. I can't even believe we're going to let you back after your Team Penske debacle of last week.
The Three Musketeers.
I didn't play all three of them, though.
But you split
I only actually ended up playing one because I garaged Kez after his problems.
And listen,
but that's the value of information. It's the value of information. We saw all weekend long, the 2 and the 12 were top 4 cars in practice.
They were. But the 12 was not just a top car. They called a great race.
Yes.
Jeremy Bullins called an ace race, gave his guy a chance to win. It didn't work out. But it's not just the couch. I'd like to thank the Island of Discontent for my coffee for another week in a row. Our man Christian over in the corner. With all the equipment, we would have thought you would have way better picks than we do. But what happened?
You know what's funny is as I've gotten further from the couch and further cast off deeper into the depths of this Island of Discontent, my props picks continue to be terrible, but I think that now that I'm not listening to you guys as closely, my fantasy picks have actually gotten better. I did break 200 this week, came in at a nice 220, landed a couple bonus picks. You know, it's not the highest score, but it's not the lowest score either. So.
Let's just be honest, where you were coming from, that's a percentage improvement. I mean, you really affected the bell curve.
Yeah, 100%. And I am being graded on a curve. There's no doubt about that. So 220 for me, I'm feeling pretty sound.
All right, but he mentioned props. We are absolutely going to get into props later in the show. We're going to talk some Vegas odds. Vegas, I think, is confused, which is a big potential for the gambler. So that was ISM. Let's just talk the race in general. I thought it was a blueprint Phoenix race. When I look at ISM Raceway, everybody's like, oh, well, passing was difficult. It's always been difficult. I mean, Phoenix is Phoenix. It hasn't changed. Flipping the straightaway has definitely changed the restarts. I've never seen 5 and 4 wide more at a short track. We'll get into short tracks later. I used to call it a short track. You laugh. Dale Jr. doesn't. It was a Twitter spat.
It was a whole debate.
It was a Twitter spat. He'll just listen. He's popular, so that makes him right. But truthfully, Burton and I are right. But it was a good race, kind of a blueprint race. Track position mattered. The best car won. Did anybody else see a different race?
I thought it was the best race we had all year.
Really?
Yeah.
I can get into that. Better than Vegas for sure. I enjoyed Atlanta. I know some people didn't. I liked what happened in Atlanta. Vegas needed a couple yellows to really ring the bell for me. But
so you had, this is my numbers.
You think it's the best race because you scored well.
Well, 246 points. Well,
oh, boy.
But, we had 21 guys spend double-digit laps in the top 10. So that shows how much. You said there was no passing. There was obviously passing if we had that much change and movement.
I didn't say there was no passing. I just said it was difficult to pass, which I think that's what happens. I mean, listen, it's racing, right? It's supposed to be difficult. You're trying to overcome the guy in front of you. He's trying to keep you behind you. That's how it works.
I enjoyed this because there was more strategy just across the board, especially for fantasy, because you had the caution near the end of stage 1. Mm-hmm. So you had some guys stay out, some guys pit. So you had to start weighing, all right, so-and-so's got 8 stage points, but he might not get me anything in stage 2. And
I like where you're going with this.
I know we're going to dive more into the strategy later, but this was the first time we had kind of had that all year.
Well, because you're getting late enough in the season. So I think the only way to get into strategy is to talk about the big names, because that's really what it's about, right? Who are you going to save? Who are you not going to save? I normally list through them. Let's change it up a little bit this week. Let's go with must-haves. Heading into Fontana, we're going to see the full-blown draft package, the ducks in the nose, the fans. All they need to understand is that the proximity of the cars, I believe, are going to be very, very close for more laps than we have normally seen out there. I think drafting is going to play a huge part, wide open throttle. It's still Fontana. Tires are going to age. I think the cars will still separate just because at some point they're going to start slipping and sliding. But with all of that said, we'll start at the end of the couch. Let me just guess. Let me just go out on a limb. Does
I'm
he
staying
drive
on
for
brand.
Roger Penske?
I'm staying on brand.
On
Taking
brand.
Keselowski.
Oh, I thought it was Ryan Blaney with your Ryan Blaney type outfit.
I thought it'd be all three.
He's on my watch list.
Okay,
But,
so
yeah,
you're
shopping
taking,
from the Ryan Blaney
so
collection.
sell the fans at home. Brad Keselowski.
Brad Keselowski. He's got to win it. He's got to win at Fontana. He's got the best average finish in the past 4 races there, and he's also earned the most points, an average of 41 over the past 4.
That's a pretty good sell when he
That's
gets the
4
most
years,
points.
though.
Well, because they only run 1 race there, but he's
Right.
been top 10 in all 4.
Okay.
You
And I
act
saved-
like you don't like Brad Keselowski?
And I saved him.
I don't mind him.
I didn't use him last week because I garaged him, so I'm still sitting on 9 uses. I'm
This is like the
letting him
battle of
rip.
the numbers, these two, right
I
here.
know.
We're
I'm
gonna
like
see.
sitting in between it right now.
So let's put it. Well, go ahead. If you don't like Brad, then wait. Do we even have to ask?
You don't have that.
I don't have to ask. So for the fans that are just tuning in for the first time, if Martin Truex is in the race, that's Russell's choice.
You want to know why?
Yeah, sure.
Won the pole, won every stage, won the race last year. He's won 3 of the last 4 stages there, finished second in the other one, was 4th the year before. No-brainer.
So I like to be argumentative. First of all, I don't think any of these names are a bad pick. And I think that's really why we're going to talk about strategy here in a little bit, because they're all kind of cornerstone type picks. I do think Truex is a solid pick, but let's just be clear when you look at the numbers. This race is nothing like what we've seen at Fontana in the past, and I think you have to take that into account. I think your weekend, it's going to be very hard to even check in weekends, because we've seen Austin Dillon show up in some of these practices, not be as good in the race, so I even think practice speeds haven't been a telltale sign of who I'm going to pick. So I'm going to save mine for last. So we have a Team Penske driver, a Joe Gibbs driver. Big shock, those 2 teams have won every race. So I'm sure you're either Penske or Gibbs. Which team are you going with?
Got another Gibbs driver.
Okay.
I've got Kyle Busch going for his 200th or 201 win if he wins
I think
the
it's gonna be
Xfinity
201.
race. I think it will be
I think
too.
it is 201. Yeah.
But let's just say, for argumentative sake, 200th win this weekend at Fontana. So Kyle Busch has been top 3 in 5 of the last 7 races, 2 wins at Auto Club Speedway, and with the role he's been on, with going for that 200th win, I just can't see him not getting it done this weekend. There's a lot of momentum coming in with that team.
So my only argument for Kyle Busch is a personal argument. And when I look at the stats page at the NASCAR Fantasy Live tab on NASCAR.com, the first column is usage, and I'm running out already. I've used Kyle Busch in 3 of the first 4 races of the year. The only place I didn't use him was Daytona. Now look, he scored the most points. His average finish is 3rd, so arguably you'd say, hey, I've done right? So maybe I should continue to use him. Why he is the hot hand, that's going to be a decision. I think this is the week. I think this is the week that I am going to. Everybody talks about the unknown. I might completely double down and take Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Truex, take all the big names. Yet to see. I got to see what all you guys do. I got to try to find an advantage. How about the island in the corner? You got a name that we haven't said yet, or are you on top of these 3?
I'd like to give some expert analysis and pile on the Kyle Busch train.
Okay.
That guy is just really good at driving things. So
just to
that's
be-
why you should roll with Kyle Busch if you can spare usage. Like it's a usage game at that point, but I think you can lock in Kyle Busch as a guy you can expect to see success from at every track right now until proven otherwise. Let me check down and take Kurt Busch as well as someone I'm going to take a look at Auto Club this weekend. He's been good there in the past, and he's been good this season in a new car with new package. So
Kurt Busch is interesting because I think while you look at his Fontana stats, they haven't been spectacular recently. But
You see how they're all going to page 2?
I know.
They all started looking, shuffling their papers?
Yep, they're all looking. The stats guys are all looking
Right.
over here.
I like Kurt.
But the role he's been on this year has been impressive.
Yeah.
And his teammate Kyle Larson, again, one of those picks. That's kind of a must start when you look at Fontana too.
He's my guy. You guys talked
Okay.
about Kyle Busch. I was on the fence with Kyle Busch. Now that Christian's taking Kyle Busch, I'm definitely not. So I'm going to take the other Kyle. I'm going to take Kyle Larson. I do have concern because I don't know how this aero package is going to race, but in the end, at some point the tires are going to get old. At some point the top is going to come in. He is as good as they come running around the top. He's finished, top 2 in the last 2 races out there. And to be honest, when I scroll down through here, I've only used him once. So he's a guy that I'm like, that's pretty quality. I have some starts kind of left with him. I think the only other name we haven't mentioned is the other Team Penske driver, Ryan Blaney. His numbers out at Auto Club, top 10 in the last 2 races out there. So I think he's one that could be considered. But so that really brings me to my question, right? We had this, Christian, you and I had this discussion last week. You were going to take the favorites every week, right? But what is the real strategy? You have 26 races, got to start 5 drivers a race. So I'm not saying I'll admit I didn't go to college and my math maybe isn't the strongest without a spreadsheet, but that's 130 picks in my mind. So at limited 10 picks per driver, you can take the top 13 drivers 10 times, or you can spread it on out. So what is the strategy from the corner? How are you going to get through 26 races?
I think it's going to be close to what you just said, for me anyway. I'm going to carve out who I feel are kind of consistently the top 13 guys. I'll probably check that with our friends out in Vegas and see what they think. Again, as we'll get to, we may know better than they do in certain regards, but you hit on it a couple weeks ago that they'll surprise you. They do kind of know what they're talking about. So for me, that's how I'll look at it. Look, I think you can come up with about a dozen or so guys that you can consistently say, you know, taking in some track-to-track variation, these are going to be the top 12 or 13 guys everywhere we go, and just see what that looks like. Now, I think for me, I'll probably come up with maybe a track-specific group each week of who those next 3 to 4 guys are. But I think, in my mind anyway, those names are going to be similar to who I would name in the 12 to 16 range if we were just ranking guys straight up across the board anyway. So to my counterpoint last week, I don't know that I will stress about digging really deep for sleepers as much on a week-to-week basis, because I just think that you're not going to run out of uses as quickly as you think you will, and I don't want to be stuck at the end of the regular season. Again, this only
That
goes
would be
for
worse,
26
right? If
weeks.
you have uses
That's
left,
exactly
that
the
is like a
thing.
kick
I
in
don't
the
want
shorts.
any
I did that
uses
too.
left.
Yeah.
So I'm flipping it. Last year I had this big strategy. This year I'm riding the hot hand. If I think drivers are going to run the top 5, they're going in my lineup, and if I get to a 0, it's going to make the decisions way easier because I know I can't play them in the last few weeks. I thought I was going to run RJ down last year because he used up all these drivers, but in the end, he found good quality. I think what happened is, since he knew he couldn't play driver X, Y, and Z, he spent a little more time on the ones he knew he could, and he made good quality picks. So I'm playing the hot hands.
I think the other thing, too, is I look at the schedule, and I see 4 wild cards on the schedule in the regular season. The second Daytona race, Talladega, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen. And the 2 road courses are on there because we saw last year you had different strategies with, like, Harvick and Truex were clearly going for the win. They couldn't care less about stage points.
Yeah.
And then you had Elliott, Jimmy, and Denny going after stage points to try and rack up as much in the standings as they could. And I think that's going to be something we need to take a look at, is who needs points when you get further in the year? What agenda are certain drivers on?
Well, and don't. So let's go through the rules real quick. I know we're 4 weeks in. For anybody you score points as the driver score points. So if he leaves with 50 points after running great in both stages and running great in the race, you get 50 points. But your bonus picks have no limit. So just because you run out of picks with Kyle Busch and he can't be in your starting lineup, you could still say he's going to win every stage and win the race. I think that's how you offset maybe.
Yes.
You know, you think you're going to lose all those points that Kyle Busch scores you, but you really don't. You don't have him in the race. But so you have the guy behind him, you lose 3 or 4 points in total, but if you still pick the right stage winners and race winners, I think you can overcome it. Listen, you're the numbers guy and the rookie of the fantasy world, so we're all going to snicker at your strategy, so go ahead.
So I like playing the hot hand too, because we see in racing everybody goes in cycles. Like, teams are good, and the same teams that are good at the beginning of the year are not good at the end of the year. So I like playing the hot hand now, and then once you run out of picks, then you have to pick from the other guys.
I was going to say that's kind of what my strategy is too, because you've got guys like Chase Elliott that I think are going to do better as the season goes on.
hope.
I hope he will.
Right.
And that's what I'm banking on, is some of these guys are going to get a little bit better handle on the aero package and be able to come out and have some little bit better results going forward in the year. So right now, Joe Gibbs Racing, Team Penske is kind of the must starts. And I think they're still going to be good toward the end of the season. I don't think they're going to taper off too much, but I think you're going to see some other teams start to catch up to those guys.
So when I look at them, so if that's our strategy and it's the hot hand, let's talk about the favorites. I heard Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Kyle Larson. You said, Brad, I think Logano can be thrown there and Ryan Blaney. I mean, does anybody think that group right there isn't going to be contending for the win? I mean, that's them, right? That's going to be the top 5 or 6 cars at Auto Club.
What about Harvick?
Nope.
Why not?
No, I have Kevin Harvick as a complete avoid at Auto Club Speedway.
Why?
For 2 reasons. One, he runs so good at Atlanta and looked a little bit more mortal in that race that I feel that this aerodynamic package hasn't quite been figured out yet with him and his race team. And when you just look at Auto Club in general, I mean, he's been outside the top 10 the last 2. You like when I use your numbers?
You want to go ahead and use the numbers because I'm going to tell you why it was outside the top 10.
Go ahead. And how about this? He's never scored even a stage point.
That's because Kyle Larson wrecked him early while running
On the
third
backstretch,
last
they
year.
ran into each other.
And then he got collected with Keselowski and Johnson the year before. And then
So wait. So you're just saying these wrecks are just dumb luck, and you don't think he's magically not going to wreck this time?
So the 2 races prior to that, it was second in both races at Fontana.
Okay. So we're going to bet a cup of coffee that he hits something in Fontana. I say he does.
Okay, I say he doesn't.
All right, there you go. Christian, you're off the hook next week.
Finally.
No
man,
coffee
my
coming out of Christian because
Yeah.
Russell's going to be buying my coffee next week. And here's why. So I know you guys are going to laugh at me because I said this was going to happen in Vegas, and it didn't. There was no yellows.
The big one.
The big one. They are not going to run green forever. And they are not going to. Let me tell you a story. We were at Fontana like 6 or 7 years ago, and it was a green-white checkered. We put on tires, and we restarted like 12th. And we had TJ Majors on the roof. Dale Jr. was driving. They dropped the green. He rolls to the top of 1 and 2. And when he goes out of sight, he's flying. And TJ literally says, and I quote, "If that's you behind the 24, you're clear. If it isn't, I don't know where you are." Because 4 and 5 wide down the backstretch, you can't see. Like, the spotters can't help. It is absolute chaos. People laugh, but those bumps that got Larson and Kevin together, I know they're bumps and you're running straight, but between that and the buffeting of the air, these cars are going to be moving around. There is going to be sad drivers wrecked on the backstretch of Fontana.
Can we define like Kevin Harvick running into something?
It's already defined. If he gets put on the crash clock, then he was in an incident.
Good.
NASCAR. So you do that in your reports.
Yeah.
So when I see Kevin Harvick on the crash clock, you should put asterisks
Perfect.
Steve's coffee.
Sure.
Okay. Just so we're clear. All right. There's
How do
the
you like your coffee?
there's the big news. Free. That's how I like my coffee. Free is the best coffee there is. Who else? We talked Kevin Harvick. Who else? Let's go through the list. Kyle Busch has scored the most points. Logano, Harvick. Hamlin's had a hot hand. He's 4th, never won at Fontana. Broke his back there one time. I mean, it's never good when you've broken your back at a racetrack.
He's had some painful memories.
He has had some painful memories. What is our Denny Hamlin opinion?
I've used him a couple times, so I'm going to save him.
Because he's one that,
Especially
not
with-
that we're getting into a big strategy, but like Richmond, Martinsville.
Martinsville.
Yep.
And that's next week.
I mean, he's going to be pretty good, so you're gonna want them. And I actually think that's where the big thing comes in. You have to strike at the tracks that are a little more predictable, but Bristol, Martinsville, Richmond, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Talladega, Daytona, man, if you can get anywhere close to 200 points in those races, you've done some magic. So, all right, well, so that is basically the idea. Those are the favorites, perhaps, at Auto Club Speedway coming up this weekend, but it's not just about NASCAR Fantasy Live. Each and every week, you have to go and take part in NASCAR props betting. There are 10 picks every week. A point if you're right, a point if you're wrong, and it resets every week. That's the beauty. Bet against your friends, have a friendly wager, figure it out. What we've learned on this couch is that it's scary to pick all 10 because you keep saying, how many did you get right? But losing that point when you're wrong is costly. So I'm feeling pretty good still. I scored 6 points in my props bet this last week. Not as good. Sadness.
6 points.
6 points. Hey, I was right in front of Russell. See how that worked?
I'm still better than Christian, though.
That's not fair.
Can we do a
Why is he in
three-way
the
fist
corner?
bump?
You got 6 as
6.
well?
6.
Oh, I'm telling you. What happened to you, Russell? Did you not watch the show? So last week we tried something a little bit different. I did not look at any of the props until sitting on the couch. I've done the same thing this week, but I did bring my trusty 8-ball. So Christian, you're the props man, surprisingly. Not that you're good at setting them, not so good at picking them. How did you do last week?
Not great. I'm consistent.
But you got 5 right.
Not great. Yeah, and 4 wrong. And as you just laid out, that really counts against you.
So you're positive, though.
Which ones you sit out?
I accidentally sat out. It was my turn to forget to update my props picks. I accidentally set out the race winner inside or outside the top 5.
I see.
Which had I gotten back to that, I feel pretty confident I would have been able to get that one right.
Oh, that's how every time I walk away from a roulette table, I say, oh, I would have bet red. I would have won that one. Oh, yeah, I definitely would have won that one. All right, you get the floor then. Props betting. Let's see. What do the props look like for Fontana?
I like where we're heading. Another week with, again, some real props, a bunch of jump balls. I think your Magic 8 Ball is going to help us out, or at least help me out, or hopefully help some fans out. So which Ganassi race driver will have a higher finishing position? We've got a couple of head-to-heads. Here's the first one. Larson or Kurt Busch?
Kyle Larson.
I agree.
Slam
Yeah.
dunk.
Larson.
Yeah, I'm out on Kurt for this week.
Slam
so,
dunk. Whoa.
Yeah. We can get to that later.
We'll get to that later. Okay.
What about the Gibbs camp? Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin.
Danny Hamlin, DH. Numbers too good at Fontana. Runs up front. Mr. Consistency. I like both of those.
I'll go Jones.
I'm torn on that one, actually.
I have 2 free cups of coffee.
Jones has the 5th most stage points at this track past 2
Yeah,
years.
but the props isn't where they ran at stage 1
I know,
or stage
but I'm
2.
saying I like
just
the
letting
body
you know
of
that your
work.
stats.
I like the body of work.
Okay,
At
listen, but this is
Fontana.
why everyone's up here. We can't all agree because the fans aren't going to agree.
He's also got the 3rd best driver rating behind Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch.
All right.
So I
Heavy
think
hitter.
Hey,
he's
Russell,
on the
right
let's
side
tell
of
him.
history.
What's my
Hitter.
favorite stat quote?
What?
You want to tell you? Should I? You know what stats will tell you?
you to.
That 1 out of 3 pigs will build their house out of brick. That's what stats will tell you. Basically, they don't tell you anything. You can look at those.
Steve's huffing and puffing, and he's
And
blowing
yet,
the
you
house.
guys
That's
are
right, I'm
all
telling you.
looking at these stats.
No, I'm not. I have a few notes, but I'm not completely on board, especially with the new rules. So I'm thinking Denny Hamlin, you think Aric Jones. So we're going to be split. All right. Good.
RJ, I think did you end up on the right side of history of last week's head-to-heads too? I think a lot of us went Harvick Bowman.
Yes,
and
I got
Busch Suarez,
And, yeah,
but
Busch
I mean,
Suarez.
the second one was
Oh, he did.
crash induced.
Oh,
Take it.
you
Yeah,
guys
don't
do know
care.
that crashes happen, right?
I know. I'm just saying.
Hold on a
I
second.
don't know that I would call that a win.
Hold up. I
For
want to
me.
go back and look and see which ones I got wrong now that you're bad-mouthing my picks like that.
Props is a pass-fail game, RJ. We
Oh,
don't
I
care
did
what
get-
the grade
I,
point
uh,
averages here. It's
I got
right
the
or
Bowman
wrong.
one wrong.
I got the Bowman one wrong. I did. I got the Bowman one wrong. Okay, go ahead.
I think a lot of America did too. This is a tough week. Our fan base's luck dried up. if
I
you
saw
will.
very
Phoenix
few
had
perfect
very
scores.
small percentage
Okay,
of perfect
all right.
scores. We're listening to your guys' advice now as we figure these props up, dropping some of the over-unders.
Oh,
down
there
a
were some
peg.
good ones last
So
week. What are these?
We've got Chevy drivers, over/under 2.5 in the top 10.
So Chase Elliott's a yes, and Kyle Larson's a yes. So that puts the bogey at
You know who?
Kurt Busch,
You know
who
who else
has
is
the
a
only
score
2
pretty
top
good at our
5s.
auto-
I was going to say go the other way. Who else makes up the top 10?
That's what I'm trying to say. So I have Kyle Larson in the top 10 for sure, and I think Chase Elliott can run in the top 10.
Kurt Busch.
And Kurt Busch is the only 2 top 5s for all of Chevrolet.
But I'm saying,
Man, my
are
gut
there-
says over.
but
I'm going
are-
over.
Are there room for 3? If you've got Truex, Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Logano, Blaney, possibly Aric Jones,
Okay, you got 3 left.
You got 7. Keep going.
Boyer.
Nope.
Well, we'll get to him later.
I'm going over.
All right.
I agree.
All right. We already know you're under. You
I'm
sold
under.
it. You don't kick the poor bow ties anymore. It's fine. You got it. You don't think they can run there.
I don't want you to change your mind by me telling you that I agree with you, so I won't.
No, that's fine.
do, though.
That's fine. That's fine because all you have to do, like every one you get wrong, is a 2-point swing for me to you. So it's fine.
Yeah, you'll take your luck. Team with the highest finishing driver, RCR, RFR. The Roush boys versus the Childress camp.
It's a tough one.
My gut tells me that I think that you really want to know what I think is going to happen? The 3's going to outrun him all day long and won't finish where he's running, and Ryan Newman will somehow appear inside the top 15 and win that bet.
Stenhouse is really good at Las Vegas.
There you go. I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, this is one that you're going to be mad. You're going to be looking at the couch like, I should have picked. In the last restart, you'll be like, how did Newman run 13th? That's how Ryan Newman does
That's
it.
how he works.
That's
So
how
let's
Ryan
stay with
Newman-
that. Let's take out the RCR guys and just focus on the Roush camp. Newman or Stenhouse, higher finish.
I'm going to avoid that one.
Okay.
I'm not taking 10 picks this week because I think Ricky Stenhouse
We're
will
broken.
run better,
We
and I
finally
think Ryan
broke it.
Newman will finish better.
So why don't you
That's
just
fair.
pick Ryan Newman?
I might, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to avoid that one.
What's the 8 ball say?
Let's see. Will Ryan Newman outrun? You bet. Ryan Newman was a you bet on the 8 ball. Now I might be in. The 8 ball said
Scientific
take it.
measure
I might
right
take it.
Newman it is.
It's
All
an
right.
Oscar Mayer powered 8 ball.
I like that. Yeah. Did you all see the big bacon debate on Twitter? If you didn't, you should go to Twitter and check it out. The big Smithfield Oscar Mayer debate on Twitter is fun. Well
did
done
not see
social
that.
media creativity.
I'm not on Twitter, remember?
Oh, you're a Twitterless Russell. Good point. Sorry.
Here's one I was trying to slip into this Chevy conversation. Probably better I didn't and just saved it for its own prop. Jimmy Johnson,
Oh, this one,
top 10 finish.
no.
Russell, numbers?
Yes.
How many numbers you want? Oh, he got his first career win there. Oh, he's a Southern California
I
guy.
want them
Oh,
all.
no,
I
no,
want
no,
all
no.
the
Jimmy
numbers.
Johnson Speedway. They renamed this place.
Okay, yeah. No, yes.
Finished 8th last week. I'm gonna go yes.
I'll agree with you and go no.
We're back.
Since I'm anti bow tie, so
Jimmy Johnson's back. I mean, solid top 8. I mean, does that even get you a blooming onion if it's Kevin Harvick?
But
What's
you're
he gonna
asking
run?
top 10. You're not asking
We
win.
just asked.
It gets you a prop point.
Get you a
Yeah.
prop point. I'm saying,
Home cooking.
listen,
What is that? That's
he could have home cooking in Southbound.
I say no. So wait a minute. Hold on a minute. What were you at for Chevys, over or under? Because if you have
I was
Jimmy in
over.
the top 10, you
I'm
dang
over.
well better be over.
I'm over.
I was over.
So the only thing I'm torn is I think I'm going two ways on that bet. So if I do take the over on Chevy, I might, just for strategic reasons, put Jimmy inside the top 10, but my gut says no. So I'm a game time props guy. I'm a Sunday morning props guy.
Yeah, you gotta
When you
marinate.
do it.
Listen, I'm 3 out of 4 weeks I picked them.
He wants to give other people a chance. I understand.
That's
Sit
the
it out,
beauty of
give
the
some
props
other
game. It
people a few-
resets every week. Please,
Totally.
continue. Don't listen to Russell.
Race winner leading the most laps. Yes or
No, absolutely not.
Has the last 2 years, but I might.
Due to strategy, Steve? Or due
No,
to chaos?
this was going to come down to a restart. There's going to be a restart inside 5 or 6 to go, and I think that the leader is going to be a sitting duck. I think it's going to be a lot like a speedway. I think they're not going to push him. So no, I'm a solid no on this one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Last four in
You going to
front.
argue, just argue, or no?
I mean, I can't. I've been.
I
Sure,
know you
it happened.
can.
Sure, it's happened the last 2 years.
Okay.
It's also been the
Well,
pole
because the
winner.
fans need to understand the
It's
numbers.
also been the pole winner that's won the last 2 years. So
Last four at Auto Club, sticking with some historical data for context, average 19 and a half lead changes, over under 18 and a half this week.
Does anyone think under?
I want to say yes after the Las Vegas thing we had. Remember?
So how many lead changes happened at Las Vegas? Go ahead and look it up. It was like 18 or 19, right? And how many yellows were there?
There are only 2 yellows.
So does that hurt or help lead changes?
That hurts. Well, you can look
The
at it
reason I
both
say
ways.
this is why I
Or
say this.
19.
Because every green flag cycle of pit stops, they average like 3 to 4 lead changes just because of the way scoring works. So, will there be more or less at Fontana? Listen, I'm expecting a crazy race. I expect the lead to change every 3 or 4 laps after a restart, so I'm going to say over. My heart wants it to be over. My brain thinks it's going to be over, so I'm taking the over.
I might not pick that one.
That was a lot of conviction there.
I'll go under.
It's a quiet couch
I'll go
today.
under.
You're going to
I'll
go
go
under?
under.
That's fine. I got more props. We don't
All right,
need
all right,
any
all
of
right,
these
come on.
guys. I don't
Keep
need
shooting.
any expert analysis.
Keep shooting.
If it's not going to be expert analysis, it's fine. Let's
Yeah,
get some
right. It was
props.
going to be
Let's
just
move
a
on.
get.
Though.
Kyle Larson, top 5 finish.
That is a great line to put him at.
I
Top
would
3,
say
I would have
yes,
said no,
for
it's too
sure.
difficult. Top 5, I think he can have trouble in recovery to go into the top 5. I'm going to say no, because I'm going to use his strategy of filling out the top 5. And I got Gibbs driver, Penske driver. Man,
You're
I don't
saying
think
no?
so.
But I
For
thought
Kyle
you were high
Larson?
on him. to
But
start.
he's your
You're not that
boy.
high.
What?
He
You
was your
just
boy
picked
for
him
this
to
race.
win.
Get him.
Listen,
Or
he
picked
can
him
run
as a
top
must
3 or
start.
4 in each stage. I don't know, top 5 is bigger than top 3.
What about a late restart?
That'll hurt him. The
Even
longer
at
it
top?
runs green, the better for Kyle Larson. So I think he's going to run inside. Here you go, Magic 8 Ball. He's going to run inside the top 5 all day long, late restart, finish 6th to 8th.
Okay.
There it is.
Boom, there it is. One more for you. Pit road fight during qualifying, yes. or no? No, I'm just kidding. That's not the last
I'm going to tell you right now, though. Can we not talk about the pit road fight? And then
man.
I saw Daniel Suarez on the Glass Case of Emotion, who basically said his dad was like, "That was great, but why'd you let the guy pit him on the hood? You should have threw him down too."
Well, Drew Blick is a college wrestler.
Oh, listen. Here's what nobody realizes. Go back and watch the video. Before Suarez gets in, Wheeler is already over there having a conversation with Drew about something that happened to Matt DiBenedetto. So apparently more went down in that qualifying session. I think qualifying is going to be must-see TV because with the limited amount of time and the draft expected to be what it is, I'm not going to miss it.
And Daniel's got a tag team partner in Rey Mysterio, WWE Superstar, as one of the official dignitaries this weekend. I don't know if you saw that on the Twitterverse.
Gosh, Russell didn't.
No, the last one we've got, you're going to want to check back again after qualifying, is will the race winner come from the front line?
Or you should pick it now and not forget like Christian did last week, but there's the props.
You should definitely go back.
All right. So there's the props. And like he said, there wasn't as many perfect tens. So last week we talked a little bit about Vegas odds. We're going to get into that again. But before, I want to go right back to our fantasy. These prop bets are looking pretty good. Listen, each week we know all the big names. We know who we think is going to run up front. But you have to have 5 guys. You have to have a garage drive. We talked a little bit about strategy. Well, if the strategy is to avoid some of the biggest names, that means you have to find some value picks and even perhaps, RJ loves this word, the must-avoids. So when I look down the list, guys, we hit all the big names. Let's talk about some other ones. Guys that I think I can't shake. They're running better than I thought. Let's start with Aric Almirola. I think it's safe to say that Aric's last 20, 30, 40 races, I'm talking real general, have been a huge step up in his career numbers. Does it continue at Auto Club? Are you thinking anything out of Almirola?
I like one of his teammates a little more.
Which one?
I like Boyer for this one.
All right, so I'm going to group them together and say they're both absolute avoids. But go ahead. You think that Boyer's a
I
potential?
like Boyer because he finished third in this race 2 years ago, and he's averaged 38 points in the last two. At Fontana, he's gotten stage points, I believe, in all 4 stages. I haven't used them yet.
I don't know if I used them.
I'm intrigued there, but I would say if Almirola looks better, then I would flip-flop.
I'm avoiding them both. The numbers will
Then we'll be
say
different.
no top 10s for Aric Almirola. Clint Boyer only has 1 top 10 in the last 7 trips there. Plus, he probably has the flu. If you didn't see it, but on Twitter, he had the mask on the flu flight. Said
Kes
someone on the
wasn't
flu.
feeling good, and he won. Boyer can do the same.
Yeah, nope. No dice for me from Almirola or Boyer. Both avoids.
But with
He's splitting them.
With Almirola, can you really look at his numbers before last year? Because when I look at him, I kind of look just at his Stewart-Haas numbers. And he finished 12th there last year, so it's not a bad run there. And with the run he's been on this season, I like Aric Almirola this weekend. I mean, I'll definitely have to see where he qualifies, how he looks in practice, his long run speed, things like that, but I like him.
You know it's an audio show, right? You have to speak.
Well, she took all my information.
Hey, that's well done. I disagree. Both avoids for me. The couch is split. As a fan, you're going to have to make a decision. Team Penske's so strong. We know. We get it. You have them on the mantle. They're all great. So how about Paul Menard? He's the 4th quasi-Penske driver. Where's Paul Menard stand in Auto Club
I like
Speedway?
Boyer better.
You like Boyer better?
I
Okay,
like Boyer
because
better.
we just talked about the strategy.
Yeah.
You really need 13 or 14 drivers. You don't have to get way down.
Menard is the type of guy I would look at for the plate races.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
So we've picked on Stewart-Haas Racing. Well, we talked about the fight. We know where we all stand on Harvick. How about these two? Anybody? Suarez, does he jump off the map? He basically, I'll be honest, Suarez for me is just a whole wait and see. Like, I just don't think he's matched up to Stewart-Haas Racing. Something in my gut tells me he's going to be better the second half of the year. I'm just going to wait and see.
I'm still bullish on that move, but I don't want any part of him right now.
So then let's go to RCR. Because let me tell you what's going to happen. They're going to look great in practice. They look great in practice in Atlanta. And then they actually ran better. I went back and watched Atlanta. I sat on this couch and told you how bad they ran in the race. I was wrong. They actually both ran better. They didn't get to the finish, which is what mattered. They both had separate issues. I'm not taking Daniel Hemrick just because I don't think the lineup respects him. I don't think they respect him. He's new to the series. These guys are rude. They're ruthless, right? And I don't think they respect him. And this is going to be a very give and take, or more like take and take race for when it comes to real estate. I don't think the field respects Daniel Hemrick, so he's a hard pick. Austin Dillon is a little bit of a struggle because I do think he's going to be good in practice, and I think he's going to run decent in the race. But I'm still not sold that he can get it to the. Although Danny Stockman is doing a better job of kind of coaching him, can they get to the finish? What says you?
They didn't run great in Las Vegas when I thought they were going to run really good, so I'm out on them. Even though
All weekend, or they were good in practice and let you down in the race?
Exactly.
Okay, because I think that's what the fan needs to hear. That's the insight they're tuning in to listen to is don't let good practice speeds from Austin Dillon fool you into starting him.
Yeah,
That's why I started in
I have an
Vegas.
Allen Iverson YouTube link I can send any of the fans.
That is outstanding.
If they need some more.
Says practice a few
encouragement to
times
just- yeah, to-
versus the game.
Yeah, so just to take practice speeds with a grain of salt.
I like that. That may be the best information we've got from the Island of Discontent in 4 weeks.
But can we let qualifying speed determine
No.
if we start them?
Absolutely not. Definitely not with this package.
But you've had the past 2 winners come from the front row.
Yeah, but we might
Oh,
as well
the pole,
move
actually.
this track from Fontana to Canada. I mean, this is going to be a totally different racetrack with this aero package, in my opinion.
So you think it's just going to be completely different from
So
what we've
truth
seen
be
there?
known, I'm going back to watch 2014's race. There was a lot of downforce in 2014. I don't think it's going to look like that for the first 15 or 20 laps. There's this whole draft and restart. But once they get strung out, look who was good in 14. Go ahead, I see you
Weren't you
clicking
crew
around over
chiefing
there.
that race?
I was. We, if I'm
How'd
not
you do?
mistaken, we blew a left front tire with maybe 6 or 8 to go. Where did we run? Where did Dale Jr. finish in 2014? Can you look that up?
Yeah, I will. But who won that race?
2014, probably Brad, I would guess.
Kyle Busch.
All right, Kyle Busch. Well, we already know he's going to be good. I mean, this one, she says is going to be win 201, which I don't disagree with. I think he's going to win 200. So
So
Kyle, give me the top 5 in 2014. Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch. We're liking it so far. Kenseth is watching on his couch. So isn't Stewart. So isn't Jamie Mack. You know, that says a lot. So isn't Brian Vickers. That says a lot about what the sport is. We keep talking about that's changing. AJ, there you go. He's
Paul
on the
Menard.
couch. Paul Menard. Oh, boy. Man, I haven't
Edwards
seen
in the
Dale
top
Jr.
10.
yet.
Carl Edwards.
14th or 12th.
12th. Oh, boy.
Look at that name right there.
Did we lead?
No.
You don't have to say it with such a smile. Let's get off what I did in 2014. All right, how about some other sleepers? We talked about Kurt Busch, Hamrick. We can't avoid. Let's talk Hendrick Motorsports. Come on. Mr. Negative, this guy said Jimmy Johnson's 8th. He's going to be good. Here's where I stand. I'll go first. I'm a struggle, right? Because here's the problem. We just talked about the strategy. Here. Can anyone in the Hendrick Motorsports team head-to-head outrun either 3 Penske driver? No?
No.
Okay. Kyle Busch?
No.
Harvick?
No.
Hamlin?
Maybe.
Well, I got to 6 people before I got a maybe. So I'm having a hard time getting in my lineup of 5. I'm thinking a garage placement for a Hendrick driver.
So I have Johnson in my garage.
Okay, all right. So I'm not taking Johnson because I think Johnson's going to figure it out the short tracks. I'm actually thinking William Byron. Like, he's on the edge of breaking out. Nobody else wants to say
this
that.
is the 3rd time you've done this. Have you ever used him?
Yeah, I put him in. Where did I put him in? I put him in somewhere.
Vegas?
I put him
I
in at
think it was
Vegas.
Vegas, yeah.
Put him in at Vegas.
Okay.
That's
Call
what
my man
has me.
CK. Knaus, should I put him in? And he'll be like, I don't know who you are. Click.
I mean, that's what has me a little nervous about them is they didn't look that great with this package at Vegas. So I think we need
But
we
this
need a
isn't
little more
Vegas.
time.
This isn't
But it's
Vegas.
the package. We need
Yeah,
a little
but
more
Vegas
time.
might as well be hardwood floors and Fontana carpet. The surfaces are totally different. They race totally different.
So what do you look for?
I know.
What-
What do we look at?
So here's the problem I have. They didn't run the nose ducks at Atlanta. So I believe that lap 0 through 15 of each run is a standalone. It's not going to look anything like Atlanta. It's going to look more like Las Vegas, but 15 on is going to look just like Atlanta. So figure out the cars in your little box here that has all the data. Tell me who the good long-run cars were at Atlanta, and that's who is going to be a good long-run car at Las Vegas. At Fontana.
Okay, fair
That's
enough.
your homework. You send it to me, and I'll tweet it out.
I'll get it for you in
tweet
just a couple seconds.
Okay, all right. So we're going to come back and we're going to get some starting lineups. We've talked a lot about names. Anyone, a name you haven't heard, everybody brought notes. You typed, George, was way better than the handwriting from last week. Do
I
you have
couldn't have
anything?
you making fun of my handwriting again, right?
Well, your typing skills look wonderful. How
my
can
typing
you?
skills are wonderful.
I'll be honest. So I picked on your handwriting because my handwriting's so bad I can't read it. So it's fair. So is there a name that we haven't mentioned that you're shocked we haven't talked about yet? Because you look like Cat 88 the Canary. You got this grin like you have this magical pick we haven't heard yet.
No, I think you have most of my big picks. We have talked about most of them. I don't know if we've talked about Blaney a whole lot. And he's one guy that I'm going to look for to see how he's running.
So
Just
I have,
because-
but here's my Blaney problem. I got points scored, right? So Blaney is 12th. So I know he's been fast and running good, but it's like when I look at the year, Ricky Stenhouse has scored more points than Ryan Blaney. Kurt Busch, Aric Almirola. I mean, Clint Boyer somehow. So
I
But
think
they
it's
had speed though.
right. I think it's a matter of when you think they're going to actually put together an entire race, because we've seen them run well and we've seen them lead laps, and we haven't seen them get the finishes that their finishes don't really depict how well they've run, I guess. So I think Auto Club could be a week they could put it together. I'll just have to see how they're running, how they're looking,
Okay.
things like that. But I like them this weekend.
Anybody I've missed?
I'll throw out Stenhouse. I mean, we
haven't really talked Stenhouse. We talked
He's
a
off
little
to
bit
a really
of
good
him.
start.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
off to a really good start. Looked good with this package at Vegas.
And I do think there's going to be a lot of drafting involved, which Stenhouse comes to mind.
That plays into his favor. He's not necessarily making friends on the track, which doesn't play into his favor. But I think he's somebody to kind of wait and see if he looks as fast as he did at Vegas.
So did Xfinity run Fontana when Ricky Stenhouse won the championship?
Yes.
How do you do? That's important information to me because it's kind of restricted power, same idea. Because he was good those years, so I want to know, did he run really good there? Did he win?
Nah, he wasn't that great.
Really interesting. All right, because I'm with you. I'm trying to find. I guess here's my point to the fan, right? It's fair to say last year was a lot easier to pick 2 or 3 guys that were going to be good. We had the big 3, and it was very clear. I mean, I know we said Gibbs and Penske have won the races this year, but different drivers. And so no offense, but I don't really care what team they drive for. I can't pick Penske in my fantasy lineup unless I'm RJ and just take all three. But like you have to pick a driver, and I think that's more difficult this year. So all right, well we're gonna come back. So I like that. Stenhouse, Newman, JTG. Is there anybody that jumps off the page there? I'm saving Priest for the short tracks. Chris Buescher doesn't jump out to me. What's a name? Anybody?
I think Kurt Busch is a name.
So we should be discussed more than we've talked about.
Yes, because just like I said for Harvick, he's had problems the last 3 years there, like distinct problems. The previous 3 races there, he was top 5, top 10 the last 3 races, and a little inside information. The engineer for the 78, which dominated this race last year, is the engineer for Kurt Busch.
Really?
I mean, when were you going to tell that? We've sat on this couch for 4 weeks.
I've got to save my information.
And a little home cooking there as well. He's out in the home of Monster Energy. He's got to perform real well for those sponsors.
And that's an A+. That's real. That's more than hometown where you're from. Let me tell you, if you're going to perform for anybody, go where the money's coming from, Monster Energy. And I know is he feeling some of that Haley Deegan pressure? I mean, she won that K&N race, got Monster on the car, like it's time for him to win. I don't know. I like that. I like that. All right, we're going to come back. We're going to circle back and get the lineups from everybody here on the couch. But remember, we got props, we got fantasy. But one thing we talk about each week, and we're going to do it again, Las Vegas, the odds. What are the people out of Westgate saying about the odds? If you're out there, if you're on vacation, can you turn $5 into a free dinner? We'll see. So let's hear it. The man in the corner, you bringing us the odds. You said earlier that you thought Vegas was confused. What are you hearing?
Yeah, opening odds from Westgate. I think that they may be tuning into this show to see what we think, and that might factor into some of the movement throughout the week.
Who was it last week? Ryan Newman. What was he last week?
80-1.
80-1. And I'm like, I mean, he's not leading, but man, he's close. If somebody put $5 on him, they were having a good time.
I was watching the same thing, and I think to your point on the couch, it can't be overstated right now how much more entertainment you can get out of watching these races in addition to just watching it for the racing action, watching for your favorite drivers. Anything tied, even though we don't actually have money, just talking about it that much and paying attention to see what those guys are doing makes the viewing experience really fun.
So, all right, so what jumps out? You say Vegas is a little confused. What jumps off the screen?
There are large clusters of guys here if you look at the odds this week. So Harvick and Busch are back at it again as co-favorites at 9-2.
So 4.5 to 1.
You don't like Harvick?
I don't like Harvick, and I think Busch has a chance to win, but at 4.5 to 1,
It's a tough
there's
one.
not a lot of incentive. You get down. There's another pod now. There's 4 guys stacked at 6 to 1. It's Kez, Truex, Larson, and Logano. So again, the same thing.
So if I was going to pick a favorite, I would have avoided the 9 to 2. I'd gone to the 6 to 1. Give them to me again. Keselowski, Truex,
Larson, Logano. $5 on the 4 of those guys is getting you your money back plus some. Not the worst strategy.
All right. I still haven't, man. I'm thinking, so here's my gut, right? I think that they've done a nice job because I thought Larson's odds would have been higher and Keselowski's would have been lower. So I think, yeah, I'm avoiding all of them as well. Like nothing's jumped off the page that I think is going to increase my entertainment value so far.
I think we're getting there because we go from 6 to 1 to 18 to 1.
Boom! Now we're talking. Ring the bell.
Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Aric Almirola.
So in my mind, I would take Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney both at 18 to 1. I think both of those guys. Think about this: the Daytona 500 winner, 30-something wins, Hall of Fame numbers, and not Hall of Fame 5 years ago. Hall of Fame won this year. The only year he's never not won was last year. I think Denny Hamlin 18 to 1 is an absolute must-take if you're in Vegas because I think he's going to be up there around the front. I think he is a pretty cerebral driver. You get on those last restarts, he's going to try to find a way to put his car in the right position. And then Ryan Blaney, dang, he about won Phoenix. So, I mean, what am I missing? Am I missing something there? Or you like both of those?
No, I told you I liked Ryan Blaney for this weekend, so I like that bet too.
We know he's Team Penske, so
Well,
you're in.
I'd say with Hamlin, get your money down this week because his odds should be pretty better at Martinsville.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to tell you that I think his odds will change. So listen, we talk about this all the time. Let's talk about odds. The bookmakers set them, and then the money comes in, and the money can move the odds. I don't think Denny Hamlin will stay at 18 to 1. I think he's somebody out there in Vegas, pretty big name. Forget how he runs, right? He's just a popular driver. I could see some fans throwing some money down. Those numbers could change. So I think we like the 18 to 1s.
Totally. I think you're going to like where we continue then because Kurt Busch is a guy who, by all our metrics, the most basic of mine, which are he's racing in front of Monster Energy, and he won there once. That's cool. That's how I grade it. I like Kurt. You guys have better numbers to substantiate your pick. Kurt's sitting there at 20 to 1. So
Look, my man almost came off the couch.
I'd rather burn $5 than put it on him this week.
Oh, don't hold back. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
I don't like his numbers at Auto Club.
Hey, Kurt, if you're watching, that's at RJ.
I don't like his numbers at Auto Club. I just don't like them.
Okay, all right.
I like the driver fine, and he's off to a very good start. And I would like to use him at some other places.
It's true. These are odds to win. It's not finished.
It is odds to win.
I
Get
don't
all the
think he's
action
gonna
on
win.
this.
20-1.
I don't think he's going
So
to
wait,
win.
I'm looking for names I haven't heard
So in
yet.
20 races, again, like the way we did it last year, you don't think Kurt has a 1 in 20 shot?
I don't
to
think
win
he's
an
winning
Auto
this week. I'm specific to this race.
I didn't convince you with all my numbers?
No.
Club? They were very impressive numbers.
Jazzy doesn't
Your numbers are
burn
great.
them.
No,
right.
I'll go right now. We could do a heads-up coffee bet, Boyer versus Kurt Busch.
I mean,
Whoa!
I'm
How
in.
much action you taking on that? I could get a third coffee because he's going to buy me one, and we know Christian every week props bet he's going to buy me
I like
one.
Boyer.
paid in
Boyer.
advance.
I'm stealing Christian's thunder here a little bit, but Boyer's 25-1. I like that bet a lot better for Auto Club.
I
Is
can't
this your
wait.
water? Because I
No,
want
it's
to smell
not.
what's in it. 'Cause I think that,
I can't wait.
God, I love when you're passionate like that. Now, especially when you're wrong. That makes it even better when you have that much
Well, you
passion.
think I'm wrong.
So I'm
No,
not really
hey,
a
you know, but
coffee
listen.
guy, but whatever Steve wants, I'm going to use my coffee I win from you to pay Steve.
Oh, man,
Okay.
I'm telling you right now.
Then
It's
props
going to
to
be, we're here at the NASCAR. Coffee all around, the whole floor. This is
Okay.
going to be good times.
It's
All
fine.
right, all right. So that was 25-1. Who else? You got some long shots. I haven't heard Chase Elliott's name, Jimmy Johnson's name.
Chase is there at 25-1, Eric's at 20-1, but you're getting to exactly where I wanted to go next. Again, I think it's time if you can get this investment in while it's at this rate. Jimmy opened at 50-1.
Okay, so
What
listen.
are we doing?
Just to be clear, if I was a gambler and lived in Las Vegas, there would be a $10 bill every week on Jimmy Johnson. Instead of buying lotto tickets that you're never going to win, that's a lotto ticket you might actually win.
Would your wife Trish let you do that?
It would have to. It would. I wouldn't tell her. I would definitely. Let's just be clear.
She doesn't watch.
That's. She is not a gambler. So my wife would take all those $10 and make fun of me when I didn't win and say, look how much money I had. So, but I'm a gambler. $10 for Jimmy Johnson, I would do it if I was in Vegas
I
for
agree
sure.
with you. I'd ask Trish for $10.
All right. We like that. We like that. Plus my man Kevin Mendoring getting his feet wet.
Guess what?
Oh, I know you got something good. Oh, go ahead. Oh, wait. I know what's coming. Go ahead.
What is Sunday?
I know.
Go ahead.
Kevin Mendoring's birthday.
Right.
It's also St.
I was going to
Patrick's
say,
Day.
isn't it St. Patrick's Day?
It's Kevin Mendering's birthday.
It's both. Go ahead. Keep going.
Does that
Who's
mean
the last
I
crew
know
chief
this
to
one
win on
too.
his birthday?
It's
was
not
a
Chad
Hendrick
Knaus.
guy.
It's a crew chief that has the same birthday as Chad Knaus, also at Hendrick Motorsports, Alan Gustafson.
Okay.
And he's done it twice, both at Watkins Glen. See, I know.
This is the inside info people are coming to this.
I'm just telling you, man.
And I totally agree. This is why Jimmy at 50-1. You have to run out of your house right now.
It's a
if you're
birthday
in a
present
place
for
where you
Kevin
can put it
Mendoring.
down.
So
Put it down.
let's. Okay, I'm getting too far down.
And that's it. I
He's
mean, look, there's a
win.
couple long shots. We're basically
What's
at the
Austin
bottom of
Dillon?
the barrel now. 80-1. But you don't think he's winning this race. I mean, that's where RJ's logic comes
So
from.
here's your
That's
thing.
not
So
bad
you're
bet,
gonna
though.
take. All right.
Dude, no. So here's
So
the
you're
thing.
not
Do I
gonna go
think he's
Kurt
winning?
at 20-1, but you're
No,
gonna go
but here's
Austin
what we're
at
doing. We're not
80-1.
analyzing can he win. We're analyzing the odds, and I think 80-1 is too much. You could wreck some car. He won the Daytona 500. He won the Coca-Cola 600. He's won before. I mean, I think he should be a 50-1. 80-1, I would be a little nervous if I was the odds maker. Luckily, I'm not. Nor am I gambling, so it doesn't really matter.
Those are the odds. Suarez is down there at 81 too. That's probably a stay away. But yeah, look, like we said, I think maybe there's some confusion. Maybe Vegas is putting these out there, waiting to see what comes in. So if you can get some of these at anywhere near what we have them here when they open from Westgate, we would suggest you do so.
All right, I appreciate it. There, Christian comes in with props and odds. But guys, this is NASCAR Fantasy Fastlane. We're going to focus on NASCAR Fantasy Live. We've talked about all the drivers, but it's that time every week where it's time for picks. We're going to go right back to Christian in the corner. Christian, you say you're going with the favorites. So quick, 5 drivers. Who was in your lineup heading to Auto Club Speedway?
Yeah, I'm going with the favorites. I have some usage stuff I'm going to have to consider at some point. So I'm going to duck out on Harvick. But then I'm going to roll right down the list. I'm going to go Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Truex, Larson, Logano with Hamlin in the garage.
Man, I like where he's at. RJ on the couch.
We will go Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Clint Boyer, Kyle Larson in the garage.
Oh, I like that because he's going to swap Larson for Boyer about halfway through the second stage.
You assume
All right,
that.
all right.
I have a pretty similar lineup to RJ.
I think we all have a lot of the similar lineups.
Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano. Garage, I'm looking at Ryan Blaney or Eric Jones.
So I'll go next. I have the exact same lineup that she has. I have the 18, 19, 42, 2, 22, except I'm going to have William Byron in my garage in case there, and here's why. I don't have another big name because if there is a wreck, I can't burn a usage on all of them. I'm going to have to figure out who I have. I've already used Kyle Busch 3 times. If he has an issue, he has got to get out of my lineup, take the hit on points. That's why I'm going with William Byron. I might even take one more big name out if somebody looks like they can run top 12. They might go in my lineup.
So are you predicting another big one?
I'm predicting that there will be definitely more than 3 yellows on top of the stages. So 5 yellows for sure in the race.
Okay.
They're all just a little too swagger-filled after running green at Vegas. That's how they get. Now they're mad. And listen, they fist fought in qualifying. I think it's going to happen.
That's fair.
So I got Truex, Keselowski, Hamlin, Larson, Kurt Busch, and I have Johnson in the garage.
Ooh.
All right, I like it. So I don't think there's any new trends. It's what we've seen all year long so far. A lot of faith in Joe Gibbs Racing, a lot of faith in a lot of faith in Team Penske, but we are starting to see some Hendrick drivers. We have Jimmy Johnson. I have William Byron. We're going to see how they go up. But most importantly, guys, rate, review, subscribe to the Fantasy Fastlane podcast. As always, you can tweet me all weekend long. Twitterless Russell doesn't exist in the social media world, so ignore him. Jessica, RJ, in the corner, you have
No
nothing.
cell reception on the island of discontent.
Island of Discontent has no reception. So tweet myself, Jessica, or RJ. Will give you our 2 cents. I won't lie to you like I inadvertently lied to my man RJ last week. But that's us when it comes to NASCAR Fantasy Live. Good luck. Set your lineups and have a great weekend.